This is The Room for Windows PC, released by Fireproof Games in 2014. I believe it started out as a game on mobile devices and was ported and remastered for PC. And it's a straightforward puzzler, and I've had it in my collection for a while, I think. I don't exactly remember when I got this or how, but I'm pretty sure I got it as part of a larger bundle, because there are a variety of games in the series, and I seem to have all of them. I beat this game just before I started on this script, and Steam has me listed as playing this for about 5.5 hours, and I wasn't going for any sort of a speed record, and I also played across a few different devices, and as a result I had to repeat a couple of sections. So I imagine overall, without the duplications, the game probably took me about 4 hours to beat, I think. It only costs $4 or $5 right now, and I think for the experience that seems fair. Now, I don't think I would call this a horror game, but I would definitely put it in the supernatural realm. There is a story, and I guess it's kind of mild. As far as that goes, some friend of yours sent you a letter, and you show up at his mansion to look for him. He's not there, but in his study room he's left some cryptic letters, and basically he's directed you to unlock these large puzzle boxes. The game seems to be set in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s. Things have a slight gothic look to them, I guess you could say, sort of. It just doesn't feel like modern times. I'm not sure if they really get into specifics. There is sort of an alchemy motif in the background, I guess. There is some supernatural dimensional stuff going on, but this is one of those games where you're worrying about puzzles. You're not fighting things or leveling up. You just have these big, intricate, three-dimensional boxes in front of you that you need to figure out what to do with. You gotta push, open, decode, figure it out, just to progress. We get 4 main chapters, and as many boxes to work with, and when you finish one, it just jumps you to the next chapter, and you basically start over again with a new object to worry about. And these objects, these boxes, they're these large 3D constructs. Something that would probably fit on a large table, or maybe are part of the table in some cases. And they have these sort of intricate puzzles in them on the various sides and surfaces. You're going to find multiple levers, switches, hidden doors and spaces, knobs, buttons, all that good stuff. And there'll be pieces that you have to remove and manipulate to figure out how to advance. Maybe there's a screwdriver and you have to remove a bunch of screws to reveal a key, which you have to manipulate as well. Or maybe you find a telescope and it has to be expanded and you have to plug it into a table and look through it in a certain way. That sort of stuff. I think there's a pretty good variety of different and interesting things to do, and it feels like there's little repetition in the individual puzzles themselves. There are definitely some fundamental concepts that repeat, but everything does feel really unique and well planned. I think one of the more interesting elements in this game is an eyepiece. You have this eyepiece that you can turn on and off. I guess that's you basically putting it on and taking it off. When you look through it, you might be able to see invisible writing. And this is supposed to indicate, well, either colorless writing or energy from another dimension, but I guess that's not exactly clear. It is, however, a really interesting way to increase the difficulty or complexity of a task. You know, you're looking at something and you think you understand what you're doing when you're moving some levers around, but really you don't. And then you put on the eyepiece and you see that when you're moving those levers, something was actually happening that you couldn't see with your naked eye. And there's a completely different puzzle at work. It's just something you didn't see. Now you kind of have to go back and forth to manipulate the environment properly, and I think that works really well. So if you find yourself struggling with any of these puzzles, you probably should give that eyepiece a quick try. It's well integrated as a function in this game, and certain tasks really require it. And in order to get a solve, it might be what you have to do. As you open up different drawers and you're finding different buttons and knobs, you also find notes left from your friend. And he leaves his initials, but he doesn't leave his name. I don't think he ever does that, which is, I guess, something that is supposed to add to the mystery here. And reading these notes, it seems like your friend might be a little unhinged. He's definitely searching for some magical hidden element, apparently, and his excitement is evident. You're really on his heels with this game as you're working through these different puzzles. You know, where did he go? And you're sort of pursuing that. I imagine long term, with the other games in the series, that complete story will eventually unfold. And As far as these 3D puzzles go, the objects you manipulate are these beautiful and intricate constructs, and it seems to me that most of these objects couldn't physically exist in the real world. Not in the same capacity. They're just too complex. But they look great, and they're fun to manipulate and solve. So whoever thought these puzzles out, they were really thinking, and they put together a lot of really interesting tasks, and it works for me. These puzzles also weren't so difficult that I had to go off studying a dictionary or looking through literature to try to figure out what's going on. I've played plenty of PC games in the 90s that were, I guess, similar. The puzzles that they created were always far too confusing for an average person. I ran into that all the time. They'd push you to go find cheats, or some of them even seemed like they wanted you to pick up a new hobby to learn something just to get through a simple puzzle. But here, it didn't feel like they were hiding any information from us on how these puzzles needed to operate. And in some cases, you can almost brute force them. Say you have a puzzle with 4 dials, and you need to get the right combination on those dials in order to solve it. So you scour this big puzzle box, and you manage to only find 3 of the 4 bits of information that you need. You can set the 3 that you know, and then you can just spin that 4th dial one at a time until the right one clicks into place. I appreciate that. I also never found myself getting frustrated with what to do in this game overall. Just something I kept poking at, and eventually you figure out the puzzle and things fall into place and you move forward. Every chapter does seem to get a little bit more elaborate, and it really felt like a good progression all the way through to the end. And when I finished the last puzzle, when it told me that I succeeded, I guess I was a little surprised it was already over. I was really getting into it at that point. Now, I suppose I might have been a little disappointed if I didn't have another game to go on to right away. But like I had said earlier, this is a series of games, and I'm already moving on to the next one, so I can already keep going. In a lot of ways, this feels like a really well-polished 90s PC game. This is the type of stuff that I recall seeing on the early CD-ROM games, although this is definitely better focused than most, and it's really crisp in terms of graphics. It also doesn't have very high overhead. I think this is less than 600 meg in size, which would have easily fit on a CD-ROM of that era. Well, that's all I have today for The Room for Windows PC. Thank you for stopping by to take a quick look, and I hope to catch you on another video.